Thanks for joining us on another For Investors, By Investors South Bay podcast. As always, we are proud to be your all-education real estate investment resource without any kind of sales pitch. If you would like to attend one of our meetings in person, we meet the second Wednesday of the month at The Point in El Segundo. You can RSVP at forinvestorsbyinvestors.com/South Bay. To find more investment resources such as blogs and podcasts from other FIBI groups, go to forinvestorsbyinvestors.com and search our library. Now, on to the podcast.
So a couple of things to share before we kind of launch into the panel. First of all, we part of how we keep the costs so low here, right? Because you guys had to pay, what, $20, $25 to get in. We do have some sponsors that we want to say thank you to. UDirect has been a sponsor since day one. So if there's any questions you guys have on self-directed IRAs, UDirect, those guys do a tremendous amount of business. They're located down in Irvine, so they're local. New Western is a company that does a lot of wholesaling. They're good sponsors of ours. Farmers Insurance is a local. Jesse Navarro is a local agent who really specializes in doing a lot of real estate type of stuff. We've got Spirit Woodward. Is anyone here from Spirit Woodward? I know I got a call earlier today. I think someone is coming. They're a local firm, attorney firm that does specializes in real estate and business transactions. South Bay Tax and Financing, Kyle, which I guess we'll see him after October deadlines. Kyle's like an owl. He comes out in like January and February and then disappears, and he comes out for a few months in the summer and then he disappears again. And then Walker Dunlop is a commercial lender. So we're really appreciative of them. If any of you are looking for those kinds of resources, let us know. We also have a couple of sponsors for FIBI as a whole. Of course, Matt and I, our companies, both sponsor this. The Chase Law Group is another real estate firm based here in Manhattan Beach, and then More Financial is a private lender. So all of those companies have flyers in the back. If you're looking for those services, we recommend you talk to them. Tonight we are going to be talking about mobile home parks. We have been working on the rest of the year, and I think we've got everything booked for this year, right? So next month is the economic panel. So next month we're doing a panel. It's called the State of the Economy. It will be our biggest panel of the year. We've done this will be our 5th year, I think we've done this. It's once a year that if you're not following the economy on a daily basis, it's a great time to come and just get a perspective of individual investors, right? These aren't CNN talking head economists. These are just people that are all dealing with advising clients or investing their own money or investing clients' money. We've got 3 great panelists that are going to be talking next month. November it's going to be here. So the reason I'm saying that is this space, we have room for about 75 people. So once we get to about 80 RSVPs, we are going to cut it off and put it on a wait list. So I recommend, since you're here tonight, go ahead. If you're planning on being here in October, go ahead and RSVP, because once we get too many, we are going to have to cut it off because we're limited in space here. So thank you for pointing that out. What do we have in November?
This is the nose
Jackie! We started working on next year in January. We're doing a panel on, right now the working title is The Green Opportunity, because as many of you know, January 1st, California has now made marijuana legal. What that looks like from an investing perspective is something that we're really curious about. We've got an attorney who specializes in the medical marijuana and just the marijuana field. We've got another panelist who is a business consultant and advises and evaluates the value of businesses. And we're still looking for our 3rd panelist, but we're going to do a panel on where is the opportunity in cannabis in California or elsewhere.
Just because you smoke does not make you an expert in cannabis. You guys offering free samples?
I'm just saying, in January when you grab a brownie, be careful. Just be careful. There'll be no cookies. Are you kidding me? In February, we're going to be doing a panel on short-term investing. So Airbnb, how to cash in on kind of the Airbnb movement, short-term rentals, excuse me. And then in March, we're doing a panel on using technology to grow your real estate business. So we've kind of got a good jump start on 2018, and we'll be sending out more information on those soon. You have the date? Yeah, I think it's right. It is December the 7th. So also, again, if you're new to FIBI, all of the so we have 6 active chapters right now, and we've got 15 total chapters. Twice a year, instead of doing an individual group, all the FIBI groups get together and do one big mixer. There's none of this. There's no education. It's pure networking. And we get about 150 to 200 people to each one of these meetings. So our holiday event is it on Meetup?
I don't think it's up yet.
So it'll be going up soon. You'll be getting notices on it. It's going to be December the 7th, and it's going to be in Long Beach, where Matt runs his group out of. Okay, so before we turn it over into doing some introductions, the last thing is just our disclaimer that we are not attorneys. We are not CPAs. Well, technically Matt is a CPA, right? Right, but I don't recommend you use that. It's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
I will help you with the tax advice, but I'm not going to do tax returns.
Matt actually is a brilliant tax advisor, but just don't let him do your taxes personally. No, and if you want them done on time, I mean, it's up to you. So
I will push it too far for you guys. So I don't believe in paying IRS a dime, but
that's true. So this is purely for informational purposes. We're here to give you our perspectives as professionals, as investors. If you've got specific questions about your situation, if you've got very specific questions about a deal that you're trying to put together, and you're looking for those kinds of referrals, let us know. We'd be happy to refer something to you. So with that, each of the panelists is going to do a quick little introduction here. Again, they're not here to sell you anything. It's more just to give you some information about their background. So as the course of the night goes through, you kind of have a good sense of who these guys are as investors and as people. And then the last thing I'll do is, we have some questions that we wrote, but this is meant to be, we want your questions as well. So if you have a question at any point in time, raise your hands, and we'll get to as many questions as we can.
I just realized too that we got all men on the panel tonight. So can you dress up a little bit here so we have at least a little female element up here? This is kind of a bunch of
that would bother.
frat boy panel here.
I did miss the leather shoe memo.
This panel should be sponsored by Levi's. I think that would be bad.
These are the nicest jeans I own.
This is what successful real estate investors wear nowadays, because we pretend like we're wealthier than we really are. So.
Thanks for having that, Matt. I appreciate it. Bryce, you use that as your intro. Go ahead.
G'day, I'm Bryce, your Australian mobile home park mate, and when it comes to mobile home parks, I own, operate, syndicate, and educate, and I typically look for undervalued and poorly managed mobile home parks and turn them around.
I'm kind of twofold locally around here. I do what we affectionately call Lonnie deals. I buy old mobile homes, fix them up, sell them, carry the paper on them. I'm also a mobile home park owner out of state. I look for undervalued parks, undermanaged, and try to improve value and create equity out of them.
Hi everybody, I'm Joe. First off, I just want to say thanks for having me. I appreciate your invitation. By choice, I don't drive in traffic, but today driving here it sucked. So I hope you guys have been valued by coming in, and thank you for taking time to come out and spend time with us. I want to tell you guys a little, give you a little praise. It's so hard to put together this meeting. So I run the meeting as well, and you guys, I get 3 or 4 emails a week by people saying, hey, can you come speak at your group, and we will sell the camps and whatever courses. And the magic secret of making real estate, and we'll do a revenue share model. And I always say no, because we only want to bring in value to the meeting. So it's very hard to put together a meeting like this. Second of all, it's even harder to bring someone who's not going to sell anything. So for that, I don't know which model is better, but I brought you guys a little present. You guys can decide which one you want.
Which you guys bring?
I just want my parking balance.
You just made my life better by making my wife's life better. Right?
Hey, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you guys, appreciate it. I started investing in 2002, single family houses, and it was fun because I was doing a bunch of deals between 02 and 07, and then you guys know what happened in 07. And then in 2005, I had done a little tour in Killeen, Texas, a military town, mobile home parks, and with a buddy of mine. We went out and cold called. And we looked at different parks. And the one thing that stuck in my mind in 2005 was a mobile home park, sitting with an owner. And the owner said, "Hey, you want to see my rent roll?" And I said, "Sure." He pulled a lot of lease agreements, and most of these lease agreements have been back to like 20 years, 18 years. So then I'm like, wow, that is a long time, right, as a tenant to live in your community. So that's the first thing that triggered, that stuck in the back of my mind. And then the second thing was the cash flow aspect and how to have the continuity of income. That was what stuck in my mind in 2005. So in 2008, I bought my first REO park, and then 2012 my second, 2015 my third, and 2016 my fourth. And we're around 400 plus spaces. I have a lot of stories, but that's where I'll stop.
Yeah, we have 2 hours.
We go to the bar.
Nice. Well, for those of you guys who don't know, my name is Matthew Owens. I am a California licensed CPA, even though I don't do taxes like I mentioned. It is active. It's absolutely active. I still do the continuing education. I hate it, but I still do it. I educate myself in a bunch of different ways other than just the tax side. But I flip about 10 houses a month right now. We've been doing it for about 10 years. We've done a little bit over 600 houses now. And we also do a lot of value-add multifamilies. We invest in promissory notes and also private land. And then we invest in different syndications. And I help a lot of clients with the tax and legal structuring aspects of things, just to kind of help them because there's so much incorrect information out there for people getting started investing in real estate. So do not start a Nevada LLC, please. Okay, so that is one of the things that a lot of people tell you. But and I'm also doing some of the short-term rentals as well right now. I do a lot of seller financing on my properties, which really opened my eyes to a whole other world of note investing. I invest in non-performing paper as well with different relationships that I have. So it's great to learn all these new strategies and techniques to invest in real estate. And if I could give anybody here one piece of advice, it's to learn as many of these types of strategies as you can and understand them, because not only do they help you with maybe a particular strategy you're doing now, but they can be added to other opportunities that come up in a bunch of different ways. So, and one of the things that I think is hugely valuable about going to these events is not only just the learning about real estate, but finding all the new ways other people make money that you haven't even thought of, that just come out of the woodworks where you're like, wow, that's a unique opportunity, and that person has something interesting going. Let me talk with them later and see if there's ways we can help each other out. And that's really what this is about, is finding ways we can help each other. Nobody can make money together if there's no ways to help each other. So that strategy, I think, is the best thing that you guys can be doing as real estate investors.
Your success as an investor will be directly correlated to the quality of people you have around you. There's no way you can invest in real estate on your own. And I'm a licensed California real estate agent, and my license is active before you ask. And I work here at Keller Williams. We do specialize in working with investors, but we also spend a lot of time working with families throughout here in the South Bay, especially houses or people that are distressed. That's one of the things that we specialize in. As an investor, I've invested in all kinds of things. I've learned a lot of dealing with notes with Matt, especially on performing notes. I've invested in a lot of non-performing notes with guys very much not like Matt. I've invested in different kinds of development deals, long-term buy and holds, all kinds of stuff. And to Matt's point, learn about all these different things and all these different techniques, but do them one at a time, right? Because so many people want to take on everything all at one time. Even when Joe told his story, right? He started off in single family, then he kind of moved to multifamily, then he kind of moved into mobile home parks. It's great to stack these things up. They're different things that do really well at different parts of the cycle, but just take them on one at a time. Don't try to absorb everything, because then you'll just become overwhelmed and not do one thing. All right, so let's jump into the panel. And Joe, I'm going to give you the first question since you brought us booze. On the first question, what we want to do is we want you guys to each kind of tell us about a project that's actually closed in the last 6 months to a year. So maybe your latest project. Tell us some of the attributes about the project that you liked. Tell us some of the things that concerned you about it and ways that you overcame that before you closed escrow. And just give us 3 to 5 minutes apiece on your latest project.
Cool. Hey, Phil. All right, so let me see. Okay, so you have to have a goal in mind, okay? My goal was to figure out how much cash flow I need every month. So pick a number. What's your number? 5, 10 grand a month, 7 grand? You really don't need 25 grand a month, right? Really, seriously.
You may want it.
You don't want it. You don't need it. There's a difference. So what do you need, right? You gotta cover your mortgage, your kids, figure that out. And then multiply that times 12, and then divide it by 10. What do you get? Multiply your monthly nut, whatever you require, times 12, you get the annual number, divided by 10. So come up with, let's say you need 100 grand to live on, to retire, per se. And so that to me was financial freedom. So $100,000 a year divided by 10, that's $1 million. $1 million in equity producing me, the way I divide it by 10 is $1 million a year producing me 10%. So basically I just need an asset, one asset, or two, or whatever, equal, that it's free and clear, it's $1 million worth, producing me 10% a year income or return on my cash, on my investment. And then I have my yield. Then I would have my payment. Does that make sense? So again, but I want to start with that because it's important. That was my goal at the beginning. Okay? I wanted to do that. So how can I attain that in mobile home parks? That was my thing. So I kind of backed my way in, but now I got to learn the asset class. I got to understand what's good, what's bad, and everything else. So that was my goal. Okay, I had my figure in mind, and then that was my vision, my goal. So you have to have something you're going to go for. Okay. My first park was a bank-owned park. It was a disaster. Had 141 spaces, 52 houses on it, paying $150 a month. Supposedly, if you do the math, I was supposed to be collecting $9,000 a month in income, but my water bill was $6,000 a month, and my actual collections were $4 grand a month. That was my business. And then 2 weeks later, I get a letter from the city saying that they were going to rezone my property if I didn't comply with or fix a lot of all the violations that were out of code. So here I was. So my first year in the business, I didn't do anything because I didn't know anything. I knew about mobile. I knew about stuff that I've done before, but this was a very new thing. So I made a lot of mistakes in my first year. And then going forward, I kind of learned it, and then I learned that okay, if I bring in a lot of homes into my mobile home park, I'm going to increase the value of the income. And that's what turnaround is. You want to turn around, it's like a fixer-up. So I brought in the course of the next 2.5 to 3 years, maybe about 70 houses to that particular park. So we brought the value, we went the income from about $4 grand a month to about $40 grand a month. But it took some time. And then we grew, and then we obviously made a relationship with some of the local homeowners that own other mobile home parks. So we bought our next properties there. We bought economies of scale, same area, we bought 2 more from 2 different owners at different times. So we grew our portfolio in that city with the same management team and everything else. It worked out really well for us. So that put us like close to 300 spaces in that town, which was really profitable at that point. One other thing I did learn is that in my first, I have good news and bad news for you guys, okay? The good news is in 5 years in this business, you could set your goal, whatever your goal is. The bad news is it won't be in your first 5 years, all right? It's supposed to be funny. So it is a good thing, but it's true. It is true. So that's been my experience. Now what I have going, and I took that portfolio, then we bought another park. That was a really crazy purchase, but that was in Wyoming. But this one's are in Kansas. And what I'm doing now is I'm selling them. And because the market's so hot right now, it's so hard to find a good deal. And so the cap rates, you guys know what a cap rate is? So the cap rates have gone down tremendously. Obviously that spikes the prices quite high. And my portfolio is like, I got an incredible buyer right now. We're in escrow, I don't want to jinx it, but what we're doing is we're doing some sort of horse trading. It's kind of a cool deal actually. He's got a few other parks, and he's got a couple parks that he wants to exchange. My gain, that little park that I first bought, I picked it up for $350 grand. no wonder they gave it to me. They had $6,000 water bill, right? So that's, we're in escrow at 2.4 right now, but it took a lot of work and a long time. So what we're doing on that is the deal is the buyer's he's gonna exchange 2 of his properties into my acquisition, into his acquisition, into our portfolio. And then I'm going to exchange also into his, right? So we're going to do a little horse trading. And one of his properties that we're going to exchange into, he's creating so he's going to use that as an equity down payment to go into our deal, which is pretty cool if you think about it. So he doesn't have to write a check, so we're just trading. So my end goal with this deal, if it goes through, if it doesn't go through, I'll be a little sad, but I'm still having the properties. They're doing great. If it doesn't go through, if it does go through, then my exchange is going to pay 2 properties free and clear with the equity I built. Instead of paying taxes like Matt's saying, we're exchanging into those 2 free and clear. And then I'm going to hit my goal. At that point, I'm going to hit the goal that I started with some time ago, which was a long time ago, actually 2008. So that's my end goal. Is that? Are you guys confused? A little bit? No?
I'm confused.
Sorry. You gotta get another beer. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm working on right now. So if I confuse you, I'm sorry. Just look at questions.
Hey, I've got a quick question on that one. You bought that for $350.
I did.
And now it's under contract for
2.4
million. How much did you put into it?
Oh, we raised, I'm probably into it, in all properties. Well, I'm into it for probably $1 million bucks.
That's cool. You're
Nice.
getting rid of
Nice.
1.4 million capital gains in order to
Right.
changing into something else.
Exactly.
And are the other 2 parks, are they value add plays, or they're
The
also?
other 2 parks, the second park was a total turnkey project. There was 74 spaces with 70 houses already on their paying rent. Ernie was the owner. He had lease backs going back from 1997. I mean, we still have tenants there that have been there forever. That was
That's pretty amazing. The tenant retention of down here, that's unbelievable. Amazing.
The third one was a really good buy too. But I think there's another question later about mistakes, and I can tell you 10 of those. But anyway,
It takes all night.
Yeah. Tim, tell us what you've been working on recently.
I do a little glass aerobics every on our division. I guess my most recent one, maybe is irrelevant, is I was buying a small park. The owner could not verify the rents. She claimed that they were, for rough numbers, $10,000 a month, and for as long as time could show, she'd only got about $5,000 worth of deposits in the bank. And I was a little skeptical. I said, well, that sounds great. You're going to certify a rent roll, which doesn't mean anything. So how do I make sure that I'm protected by this? So I came up with a strategy, and I said, okay, it was a seller carryback finance situation. I said, so for $10,000, if 30% of those people don't pay the rent, there's a 30% loss of what you're claiming your rent roll is in the months that I close, then I take 30% off of the note that I'm paying you. And you eat that interest, but I get full credit for the principal payment. And she kicked back a little bit on it, and I said, okay, we'll put a 6 months on. So after 6 months, I can straighten out pretty much any problem. But it was just a way of saying, look, if you expect me to trust you, then you have to trust me. Because if you're asking me to take the risk that you say that you get this rent, but you have no verifiable income, or way to verify this rent came in, then you're going to share the risk with me. She pushed back and eventually bought off on it. And there's always some eviction, some default. I haven't had to actually invoke the clause and go back after them, but at least that was a way for me to protect myself. That if she said, well, I'm getting $10,000 a month, then also going to collect, it's like, ooh, $5,000 doesn't pay rent. Well, then your note payment is going to pay out until I solve the problem.
Was she saying was coming in cash? Was that where the discrepancy was?
She said it was coming in cash.
Right.
If you're getting mobile,
But it wasn't coming in cash?
No mobile home park, well, you'll realize the manager is usually, putting that, hitting National Bank. So even in the few months during just 60 days of due diligence, she still didn't have the smarts to shove cash into the bank to show deposits. It was still like 55% of her claimed rent roll was actually being deposited and all the deposit went cash.
This is where,
I know where the money's going.
this is where financial education is going.
I know exactly where the money's going, right in the management pocket, so that's my most recent experience.
Interesting. Bryce?
Cool. I'll talk about a park that I'm actually closing on right now, and this one was advertised as a 190 space park, and with 144 occupied spaces, and then the remainder of those spaces were basically ready to go. All you had to do is bring your home in on them. And then I took a trip out there for my due diligence and realized that there's actually only 183 spaces. Some of the spaces had been consolidated, and some of them actually had a playground on them, so couldn't really do anything with that. And then the vacant spaces actually needed some work to the infrastructure. We needed to put in some new water and sewer lines there and some electrical pedestals. So basically, because we had a difference in the information, that was a good opportunity for us to renegotiate, and we knocked about 10% off the purchase price.
So we're going to go back around here, and on this one we want to talk about the due diligence that you did before you got the park under contract, and then the due diligence that you did after you got the park under contract. So start off with that one park, because clearly it sounds like you flew out there. So talk about what you've done to get before you even wrote the offer, and then now that you're in escrow, what type of due diligence you're doing.
And then guys, keep in mind, this is a Q&A, so feel free to ask questions as we ask these questions to the audience. If
Please.
If they didn't understand something or want to learn something else, then definitely feel free to ask that question.
So beforehand, quick look online, wanted to see if the actual market that the park was in was like a big enough market. Does it have a decent enough population? We're looking for about 30,000 people or more in the actual city, and about 100,000 people or more in the metro population. We're also looking for our vacancies to be below the national average, and we're looking for our unemployment to be below the national average. So everything pretty much checked out in the market. The market was looking pretty good. And then, obviously looking at the park itself to see if it had the metrics that we were looking for. And then basically after we put it under contract and moving into due diligence period, one of the main things we like to do is a sewer inspection, where we actually get a camera and we throw that down the sewer mains, and we actually inspect the sewer mains, because you can buy parks that actually own the utility systems, or you can buy them without the utility systems. It's obviously much better if you don't own the utility systems, then you're not responsible for anything. In this park, we don't own any of the utilities. However, in every park, you own the water and sewer lines. So we wanted to put a camera down there, and believe it or not, it's actually recorded, and you get to sit down and watch it. You don't want to eat a sandwich while you're doing it.
It's a big movie. See rats and roaches and all kinds of fun things.
Yeah. But you basically want to just check, is there roots that are breaking into it, and is there any areas where the pipe's actually missing, and you're just looking at like a clay tunnel, and how much are you actually up for in repairs for your sewer line. So
I can imagine that huge down the line. I mean, it's just a clean out to the street on a single family house can be a couple grand. So if you're talking about a clean out from everything there plus the main sewer line, you can imagine that could be a major risk factor associated with a mobile home.
Exactly, and like we're talking about, does the pipes go under the road? Do they go under the homes? How are you going to dig it up? And it can get pretty expensive for sure.
Bryce, how many people are you looking for population?
30,000 or more in city population, and then 100,000 or more in metro population. They're the minimums.
Do you guys look for similar stuff, or what is your thoughts on those?
I've started looking at something that is, I prefer something where it's the county seat, and because the county seat is going to have quite often universities, they're going to have hospitals, medical facilities, airports, quite often military facilities. Those type of locations are probably not going out of business. You can get a great deal on a killer town in Iowa, 15,000 people with a pick and chicken plant. And all of a sudden they close, Tyson closes the pick and chicken plant, and now the town empties. And so I try to look for something that has got a county seat, because that's going to have education, government, it's going to have a more stable basis. It may not fluctuate and go up and down a lot, but it's going to be a lot more stable over time. That's just what
I would think there's a lot more mobile home parks in places that are more rural with less population than bigger cities. Did you find that as well, or?
Yes and no. Over time, I mean, it's an interesting history of mobile home parks, but they basically started back in literally the 40s. And over time, they were trailer parks where people would go and travel to. Back in the day, the rich people had big cars and they towed trailers with them. It was way before Motel 6 and all the interstate systems. And so they started building trailer parks where the people would go and stay, and they were really nice. And then over time, they just evolved into mobile home parks, and the homes got bigger and became more permanent. But a lot of times, look in Southern California, they're built by the river. They're built under the power lines. They're built in places back in the 50s where people weren't buying property to build single families. And of course, now as things expand around them, they become extremely expensive properties. I mean, you can look in Austin, Texas, as an example, where mobile home parks in Colorado and places where they become extremely expensive pieces of property, but they didn't start that way. They were on the outskirts, but the city built around them. I just like you said, something with a larger population base, not necessarily the town, but a metro. You don't want something out in the middle of nowhere, but something that's within 40, 50 miles of a good metro. I like the county seat. That's my due diligence before I start looking at parks. When I actually look at a park and try to get it under contract, one of the first things I'll do is just see, A, is it permitted, is it legal? I will call around the local parks and find out try to get an idea what the vacancy rate is on that.
How open are other parks to telling you that kind of information?
If y'all just come with kind of a little draw like this and say, my dad's looking for a place to move his trailer, I was wondering how many vacancies you got. I'm an investor from Southern California, and I'm just really curious about buying this park and what kind of vacancy you got.
Do you make say that from your boat in Catalina?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I got to get the kids out in paddleboards first, so it's quiet at the fly bridge.
So that is an investor trick right there. That is change your accent,
Yeah. Well, in California, they're like, idiots with too much money, or one of the first things I'll do, maybe prior to putting the park on contract, I'll have a Craigslist ad, and I'll just say, I'll list the school district and the general area that it's in. I've got 2 and 3 bedroom homes for $600-700, whatever I think the rest of us can with homes, and see what kind of response I get. A lot of times, if you're dealing with places that are out of your local area, you'll find out that it's right outside a metropolitan area with a great school district, and your phone blows up. And you also might find out that your phone doesn't blow up. Maybe I've got to take a look at what I'm looking at. You can do today probably a lot of your due diligence before you have to leave your house, and you're not going to spend much money. It's your time. It's money before you go out there. You do need to go out and you need to have someone look at the electrical, and you got someone run a camera to the sewer. You need a phase 1 environmental. But you can do a ton of your research really before you go out and visit a park. And even before you put it under contract, you can research a metropolitan area that you're interested in. If you're in Southern California and you don't want to fly to Maine to look at your park, well then look at something in the Midwest. You don't like the snow, look at something in the Southwest. Kind of decide what you want to go to and do that due diligence before you actually start looking at it.
And that was going to be my question. Like for you, do you want to do all that due diligence before you fly out? Or do you not want to spend all that time for something you don't have under contract, right? Like from your perspective, where is your time better spent?
It's kind of twofold. I guess I would probably target an area you want to go. Some people are broad. They're like, I don't care where it is. I don't care where the park is if it makes sense. Me personally, I don't like flying that much. I try to stay within an hour or so flight of my properties for the most part that I own in Tucson. So I can get on a plane and be on the ground in my rental car at 11 o'clock in the morning. I don't like the cold. I don't like dealing with the stuff in the cold.
But by the way, you could be there at 9 if you want to get up earlier.
A lot of times Southwest doesn't fly. I'd go earlier if I could. So I would probably target an area that you're looking at, that you're comfortable going to, and then find the county seat where all the infrastructure I talked about, and all the population base, and the consistency of employment. There are 2 types of manufactured housing communities out there. One is affordable housing, which most of us invest in, and then there are lifestyle properties. Lifestyle properties are the places that have golf courses and tennis courts and pools. They don't have a golf cart. They're in Florida on the coast. They're in Malibu on the coast. They're places where people are paying $300,000 for a manufactured home in a park, and they pay $800, $900, $2,000 a month rent. That's far different than the properties we're investing in. We're investing in affordable housing. If you want a couple statistics about affordable housing, or should I move on? Go for it. Okay. So, it's getting old thing.
Glasses for the occasion.
You can write your notes.
Okay, well, I mean, okay, everyone knows that affordable housing is a challenge in America, right? We hear about it all the time in the news. And 1 in 8 Americans live below the poverty line, which is essentially a family of 4 is about $24,000 a year. Okay, the average single-family residence in America is $2,000. The average rent for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath is $1,700. I'm sorry, $1,170. 1/3 of households earn $30,000 or less for total household income. It's not hard to do the math to figure out what they can afford, right? Okay, 50% of new jobs created since 2007 are $10 an hour or less. 50%. So there's all this great job creation, they're minimum wage jobs. Okay, who knows what the fastest growing industry in America is for employment? Fast food. That's our contribution to the world, is that we are the fastest growing employer.
The drive-through? That's what we're
I
doing.
don't want to, I'd probably drive to. Let's say 50% of the jobs in America are fast food. And you're getting a $10 an hour house, right? I mean, essentially the household income in America has been on a downward spiral since the 70s. So as things go down, so people, you're talking $30,000 a year in income. These people have $600 or $700 a month to spend on housing. Can they afford an $1,100 apartment? Can they afford a $200,000 single family? Okay, so mobile home parks are the solution to these people. I can provide a clean home that's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, whatever it is, for $600, $700 a month. $800 a month for space rent and payment on the home. And they're building equity in something that they're buying. I don't know anywhere else in America the statistics add up to make sense to them.
And there's only about 50,000 mobile home parks in the whole of America. So the supply is really limited.
It's decreasing. You know, there's a stigma. People in America pretty much believe what they see on television. And Jerry Springer and Cox stigmatized mobile home parks to be where the hitches your entire pit bull up and you drink and have fights, right? And so that's the cities. You cannot build a new mobile home park in America. And if you do, you're in the Mojave Desert or you're on an Indian reservation out on the river in Havasu. That's the only place I know this stuff is getting built. And so as the environment or the universe of mobile homes available shrinks, and affordable housing becomes more critical. To me, it's a great opportunity. One of the things that I've been reading about is that rents for apartment buildings have been keeping up with inflation because of a lot of government studies on what the price of apartments should be. There's no such thing for mobile home parks. And in my opinion, the rent in mobile home parks is extremely undervalued. And over time, it's going to start increasing up as they start realizing value. You guys know what HUD is? HUD just came out with something to serve, degree to serve. There's some data about that starts helping people out. In Section 8, government has said that you can now use Section 8 funds to buy a mobile home. Not just rent, but you can use it to pay the space rent and purchase a mobile home. They haven't codified exactly what that means, but they're recognizing that it is a great attribute for affordable housing. And a lot of the cities, and I do a lot of business in Southern California, the cities would love to get rid of mobile home parks, but they also realize that it's probably the last bastion of affordable housing that's out there, and they can't get rid of it because of the federal subsidies and income that comes in because they have that. Don't break it, that's ours.
It was his wine, I don't care.
Yes, I'm agreeing too, man.
I got a quick question. I just read this today. How many mobile homes do you believe there are in Florida? It's in the news now because take all the parks and add the number of mobile homes in Florida.
Last week or this week?
Yeah.
That wasn't a joke.
Yeah. No, a million. It's 828,000. Well, Florida alone. So I mean, I think if I read correctly, 8 or 9% of Americans live in manufactured homes in this country. That's a huge amount of people living in homes.
So, Joe, I'm sorry.
The question off the one right now. Sorry. I geeked out on the internet.
My first question was, when you were stating those average rents, what state were you talking about?
United States.
United States, an average cost. Okay.
Obviously not California, where one bedrooms.
And also, how do you price things? Because there's the mortgage on the home itself, and then there's the lease for the lot. Is that combined, or are they separate lines that the people who are buying it?
Well, we're getting into a whole element of what they call park-owned homes in parks. I can tangent off on that if you'd like, or do you want to keep to your topic?
We're going to cover that one a little bit.
So it's a little bit
Different.
different. I'll be happy to get into it. I think they got some of the topics that we're go down that rabbit hole.
I've heard that some cities are now allowing fixed buildings, apartment structures, to make smaller apartments. How might that affect you? You know what I'm talking about?
Like tiny homes.
But yeah, it's like the type of home.
They're putting people like in San Francisco into closets, basically. Much smaller apartments.
Turning it onto the west side of
The
the
regulations say this space is only allowed for 30 apartments. Now they're changing that, okay, now it's allowed for 42.
I think one of the differences there is that people that would live in that kind of scenario don't get their own yard. They have to share walls with other people. They don't actually get to own their home. And that's one of the advantages of being in a mobile home park. You own your home, pride of ownership, you've got some equity there, you've got a backyard where your kids can run around, no one's running above you or beside you, banging the walls. And so I don't really see that as being much of a competition. And there's just so much, the supply and demand with mobile home parks is kind of crazy. So
I also have to imagine an area that's that dense like San Francisco, they're probably not going to cut the rent. They're just going to add more units. So the rent's still going to be $4,000 or $5,000 a month for your 800 square foot apartment, which is completely different than the rents these guys are dealing with. So I don't know if that'll have an impact or not as well.
to give you a metric, I mean, we're probably looking at around about $300 a month in space rent, maybe $300-400 a month. Yeah, so it's really cheap living.
Go ahead.
Inexpensive, not cheap.
Right.
Affordable.
It's like wine. It's not cheap, but it's expensive.
So forgive me for being a little naive, but I was new to the idea of the mobile home park as an investment, which seems to me, it seems like a great idea because that's why there's so many that are involved in it. But wouldn't it seem like a headache to have all the tenants versus being an apartment building or single-family homes and being a little bit more mobile? I don't know. I'm just curious.
The biggest difference.
It's a good question, right? Especially compared to buying a single tenant commercial property, like where you've got one, credit rated tenant versus you're buying, low income housing that has 180 families in it. So
I think the biggest difference between mobile home parks as a landlord and owner, as opposed to apartment buildings per se, or any other asset class that you have tenants in, you always have a relationship of a landlord and a tenant-landlord relationship. In this case, you have a landlord or an owner versus an owner, so a landlord-owner relationship. So you don't own the mobile home, so you just give them the infrastructure so they can live, provide all the grounds, and give them the rules, and they pay you lot rent for having their home there. So you're removed from the maintenance of the house. So you just give them a set of rules, parking rules and regulations, and they have to abide by that. If not, we actually charge them non-compliance fees for not being in compliance. So for example, if they have debris or they have tires out in the backyard, so we'll that's a profit center for us actually. So that house, if there's a leaky toilet, or if they want to remodel it inside the house, if they want to change the countertops or whatever, it's on their money. It's on our dime. It's not on ours. So that's huge. So as opposed to the multifamily where the tenant actually leaves, then you got to want to clean everything up and everything else. So the less amount of mobile home, park-owned homes that you own in the park, the better you are.
Yeah, because there's parks that will own the mobile home as well as the land, and there's parks that just own the land. And I do a lot of single families and multis, and you have the 3 T's: tenants, termites, and toilets. In mobile homes, you have 1 T: the tenants, and they're really owners in that case.
I mean, really, the simplest way I explain to people is I rent a parking spot and utility hookups. I'm responsible for the utilities up that hooks into your home and renting you the dirt. Your home, if it breaks down and leaks, that's your problem. If you own a multifamily place, I'm responsible for light bulbs, toilets, and everything else. I rent dirt utility hookups.
Question?
What about eviction? How's it different from the apartment building? When you evict it and you own the mobile home and we own the land, right? How's that different?
Okay, so when you evict somebody in a mobile home park, if they're not going to pay up, basically they forfeit their house essentially. So we end up keeping the house because if they don't have the money to pay the eviction fees and actually pay up to date, then they don't have the money to actually move the home either, because it costs about $4,000 to $7,000 to move a home. So basically, when we evict somebody, the home stays there, they move on. We end up getting title of the home, we rehab it, and then we sell it. So that's basically how it works.
Sell it or rent it out?
We would prefer to sell it, for sure, absolutely, because we don't want any park-owned homes. We just spoke about that then. But not everybody can buy a mobile home, so sometimes we'll put them on a home ownership program.
Let's say you owe $50,000 and you sold it for $100,000, you have to give back that thing?
They owe $50,000?
Yeah, let's say you owe you rent.
No, we evict them before they owe anywhere near that.
No, it's hard to go back.
No.
We've chased a couple guys on court.
What about the loan on the home though? Because they defaulted on the loan.
Usually,
if you evict, you have to pay the bank back?
no, so if there's a loan on the house, there's only a handful, like less than a handful of lenders that would actually do third-party financing to the owners, right, to the people who live there. In that case, normally the bank will come back to us and say, hey, you guys, is this lot rent current? Because they're not current on their mortgage to us. So then normally we end up working a deal with the bank. So if they could give us some time, we give them free lot rent, then we could we don't assume the loan, we'll just probably take over the payments once the house is stabilized. We've done that. So you just kind of, because the lender doesn't want to take it either. So the lender will let you work
So
it
you don't
out.
have to pay it, even if you sell the house you own.
But I'll just sell it and I'll have the new tenant pay for it.
And that's what's kind of interesting. What Tim does is on those situations, and you guys probably do this to a degree as well, is when he sells it, you sell it with financing in place, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I'm the bank on it, so if they walk away, I take it back and the title back, whether they sign it over to me for a little cash for keys, or I can do a bonded title, go in, fix it up, and sell it again. If you will, rinse and repeat.
And this is basically like a repossession of a car versus having to foreclose on a home, right? Okay.
Even in California?
Yes.
In California, it complicates everything. In Arizona, it's a fairly simple process. California, they can drag that.
Question here, and then we'll go back here.
The other big difference between mobile homes and apartments is there's pride of ownership. Most mobile home parks are owner occupied only, and so they maintain their homes because they own them.
It's a community, right?
Absolutely.
Question in the back.
Then go back.
I had a question. You were talking about eviction, like you're evicting them and they can't pay, so they leave and you take possession. Is that written into the lease, the lot lease?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're aware of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I guess really, they have a chance to take it with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they just don't exercise their right to take it.
It's very likely they'll take it, like Bryce said, it's too expensive.
That's a great question.
Maybe it's something that's provided for in the lease, how that process of either signing back or.
And that's one of the benefits to me as a mobile home park, is if you have an apartment building, that guy can rent a U-Haul load his stuff up in the middle of the night and take off. With the mobile home, if they can't come up with $500, $600, $700 to get current, they don't have $5,000 to pull that account. And you can't just hook a dually up to it and pull that.
How often?
People have tried.
Yeah, in the parts that you guys know, how often do people actually move their home out of the park?
I've had a couple, like maybe 3. Yeah.
Out of like what, 300 spaces, 400 spaces?
I've had one.
You had one?
1%.
Okay, so less than 5% for sure.
Yeah.
1% is less than 5%.
Even though they
That's scientific of a study, right? I've got a couple of parts there to do some of that.
Hold on, let me get out the financial calculator right now. Hold on a second.
72
Right behind you in the back, and then.
Do any of you allow subleasing in your parks?
Yes, however, I won't let a large percentage of the park be subleased, especially by a singular person. So if there's just like a person here, a person there, if everybody's paying the rent and we have approved all of the people on the lease, then yeah, I'm okay with that. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, same thing.
How do you prevent? You would know.
That's a good question. Like, I mean, you can have Cindy living in the home and then she hooks up with somebody and leaves and her cousin moves in and you don't even know. So we try and keep up with it. Our managers actually live on site, and so we usually know what kind of activity happens. But yeah.
The way we manage that is we had a lady who ended up going same last name, like 3 different houses. So I ended up with the husband and the cousin and the other cousin, same cousin, all in the family. So my partner Matt and I, we thought about it and said, hey, so how do you know if you live in a trailer park? If you've been married 3 times and you still have the same in-laws. So, swear it's
Does that hit home for you, Tim?
So as a result of that, we instituted a transfer fee. So every time you move within the park, we charge you $250. So if Sally and Roxanne are living together and they break up, then she goes somewhere else, then the other person moves in. You guys have to work it out. So every month when we send out statements out, we send a notice, right? If you're going to sell your home, make sure you come to the office. You let us know who is going to be the new person coming in. We need to know their background, we need to have an application, a job, the whole thing. So we have to run their information, criminal background. But we charge either the buyer or the seller. They have to make it up, they have to negotiate with the seller. But everybody in our communities knows that. So that's how we try to mitigate who moves in, who moves out.
Yes, definitely.
Also under the other profit center.
Definitely really important though on that piece where, you have to vet the people that are coming into your park. You get the wrong element coming in, so.
Oh, it's lose control.
Right,
And
right.
you lose your community element, and now all of a sudden you've got
An issue. Yes. Question here?
So is all of your portfolios in mobile homes, or are they diversified, or is this just your favorite avenue of investments?
I've started mobile home, I'm single families. I kept some rentals here in California, and I've invested also in Utah, in Arizona, in Nevada, in Michigan, and I hated all of them. So I hated all of them. So I don't, there's nothing more I like about mobile home park than mobile home parks. Because if you think about it, how do you make, how much of a property, single family, do you have to own to net $300 or $400 a month? You guys do the math. How much property you have to own to net $400 a month? It's a lot of property in California. Then you got to have a lot of money tied in. You got to have your credit at risk. You got to have, it's just a lot. And then one single tenant can wipe you out. One water heater, one AC unit can wipe you out the whole profit of the year. In the mobile home park business, you're spread out. You have 100 spaces in one parcel. It's a lot easier than having 100 single-family houses across everywhere. You have one manager, one maintenance. You can downsize that in economies of scale. It's way better. You can make on a $10,000 mobile home, you can make $400 net.
Yeah, the cash on cash return is definitely really high in that situation.
You can't compare it.
What do you think they are? Do you think they've gone down now, given the timing of the market and things like that, as far as the cash on cash?
They're just hard to get mobile homes.
Actually, the thing that's interesting, you're talking mobile home parks. Some of the largest real estate investors in this country are huge in mobile homes. A guy named Warren Buffett, He is one of the largest mobile home park owners in the United States. He owns a manufacturing company called Clayton, the largest mobile home manufacturing company. He owns the largest mobile home financing company. And he owns, I think he's one of the top 2 owners. There's a guy named Sam Zell. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's a huge billionaire mobile home. And one of his biggest holdings now is mobile home parks. The last 2 or 3 years, there has been $6 billion worth of transactions in huge blocks of sale of mobile home parks. So like the sovereign nation of Singapore and a Canadian group and a REIT called Yes. So there's a lot of consolidation going on, a lot of...
It's crazy, it's nuts.
This is still an industry though that's still kind of a mom and pop industry that's becoming more institutional.
Correct. It's gone nuts. And I just came back from Indiana, went to a roundtable for owners. It was just an industry show thing. So over 60% of the manufacturing houses that are being built right now are going into mobile home parks. The industry is going, just going bananas. It's going crazy. And there's a lot of institutional money, private equity funds. I mean, you name it. There's a lot of people coming into the space right now. I think if you haven't been in the space in the last at least 5 years, I think it's like you're at the tail end. So it's a good time to sell right now. But not necessarily, but if you go back into the demographic we were talking a little bit about earlier, like I'd like to go into a little bit under 100,000. You can still find good deals, you can still find turnaround opportunities, but you really got to be careful when you sell. Like right now, we're selling 3. The buyer is really qualified, and just to give you an example, not just anybody can buy those type of deals. It has to be the right buyer, right? So he, for example, is getting a CMBS loan, which is a mortgage-backed security loan. And that deal is going to cost him the fees up front, $52,000. Then he's got to pay the appraisals up front. He's into it for like $14,000 for 3 appraisals. Then he's paying the phase 1 of studies for all 3 parks. That's another $15,000. And then he's paying now the surveyor. He paid another $12,000. He's into it for $100,000. He hasn't bought the park yet. And so he's very qualified in the appraisal comes and everything else. But contrary to that, you have the big guys, RHP properties, Yes Communities, Equity Lifestyle, big conglomerates. They'll come in and borrow money from Wall Street at 3%. They'll come in and buy mobile home parks like they're buying baseball cards. They consolidate. I mean, it's ridiculous. So the guys like us, we're like, oh my gosh. Like I've done a ton of lead work in Wichita, which that market is brutal. I'll give you an example. There's a company called ARC, it was huge. They sold it to a company called RHP Properties. Now it's like probably one of the top 2, over 85,000 states around the nation. How you can beat that, right? You've got a couple hundred here. A big deal. So RHP, for example, took over the whole. So if you go to a property in Wichita and you go into an office and say, I can have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, that's what I'm looking for. The lady will come out of the manager and say, oh, I don't have this in this park, but hop on my very nice golf cart, we'll go across the street, we'll take you another across the street until they'll find something they want. And then if you want to move your house to your park, they'll give it to you for free. They'll give you 6 months to a year free lot rent. So they'll just pay you to move. And then if you're competing in that market, you're going to die. There's no reason to buy it.
What are the cap rates for a stabilized property? Say you come involved in always, obviously, a lot of distress. The cap rates come down, institutions come in, big money, Wall Street, cheap financing. Can you give me some numbers where it was and where it is?
Usually, depending on the market, the cap rates are driven by markets. But in my, for example, I've done a lot of lead work in Colorado. The cap rates when I started, they were probably in the 8s to 8.5, 9s. Right now, it's hard to find anything over 6. It's got to be 5 and change.
It's basically commercial property rates, right?
That's crazy.
As far as cap rates.
Yeah. So when I got into my market, it was like 12, 13, and now it's like 8.5. So buyers have become really aware of it too, because all the newcomers, all the people that take bootcamps, they will call you. I get calls 3 times a month. Hey, how are you? I have probably a voicemail with from Sunstone, some group that was trying to buy. Everybody's trying to buy. It's just inventory. It's really driving.
Question over here.
Yes. Does it ever make any sense to invest in a park in California? Or if not,
before you guys say no. I would typically say no because the numbers don't really pan out, but I was lucky enough to get a 12 cap in California a couple of years ago. Sorry? No, I actually bought a 12 cap in California. That's what I'm saying 2 years ago. Yeah. Now it's we're actually refinancing that right now, and it's about a 7. That's correct.
What market's in it?
That's in Ridgecrest in Kern County. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have something to say about cap rates. A lot of people focus on cap rates. Interest rates are very low right now, and I don't see them rising significantly at any point in the future because the government just can't afford to pay the debt. So to me, when I look at a park, I look at what is my spread between my cost of money and my cap rate. And I'm always looking for at least a minimum of a 3-point spread. So if I can get money at 4% and it's a 7 cap rate, I'm happier than can be. If my money's 7%, I need a 10 cap rate. So I think instead of focusing on cap rate, you need to look on the spread of your cost of money to your cap rate. Because that's far more important than a cap rate. Does that make sense? Or did I just...
Yeah, are there any other reasons why you wouldn't want to be in California?
The evictions take ages. Like the quickest I can evict somebody is usually 3 months, but it can take 6 months if people dispute. And then there are also a lot of areas that have rent control, but really the main thing is the high cap rates and the tenant favorable laws.
Are they governed by the tenant landlord laws in California? Is it
it's a mobile home park residency law.
Socialist state of California makes it very hard to evict.
Gotcha.
Any other bad states?
Sorry?
Any other bad states?
Bad states, probably New York and Florida is kind of almost there as well.
I think Seattle or in the Washington area, I would think is probably the same.
Still here, then we'll go here.
So other than the competition you're getting in, once you're actually in the property, what's your biggest risk or your biggest expense at that point?
I think the 2 biggest risks that you would actually have in a mobile home park is 1, owning the utility system. I think we'd agree that's probably the biggest risk because say you own an electrical system and the system fails, that's coming out of your pocket. So the utility systems and owning those, that's a big risk. And the second one is owning park-owned homes because you're responsible for all those repairs until you don't own them anymore. So if you have a park with 100 spaces and 50 park-owned homes, well, you have to repair those 50 homes when someone moves and trashes them.
How about evictions? Is there like a high eviction rate because of the tenant pool that you're dealing with?
I don't think it's too bad. To be honest with you, I think tenants usually stick around, don't they? I would say like 95% of mobile home park tenants are really nice, quiet people, friendly to their neighbors, keep the place clean, and pay on time. And then there's a couple of scallywags mixed in there that...
There's a real nice park up in Malibu and in Point Doom, and I don't think they've had an eviction in 30 years because the homes are worth $3 million. And they pay $2,500 a month space. So it depends where you are. I mean, if you're... It's like, do you have more evictions with a Class C apartment or a Class A apartment? A C neighborhood or an A neighborhood? I mean, it really kind of mirrors the neighborhood that you're in. It's really hard to categorize them in general.
It's less than 5% though, I would say.
It's definitely less than a part.
I want to talk about your question real quick because it's something important about if you underestimate your capital expenditures, you could be toast. One of the biggest risks is going to park. The biggest expenditures you'll have is on your infrastructure, obviously sewer, plumbing, and obviously the roads, very expensive. You have to update the roads so you can increase the rent, very expensive. I bought 18 houses from FIBI over Katrina. What was that? I think 11. I paid $11,000 each, delivered, furnished. It was part government, tax dollars. But that's how it works. And so we paid 11 grand a home, and we delivered them at the community. And we had, they were all electrical, they were electrical efficient houses built in 2005. My electrical panels can only support 100 amps. Guess what? We could not find the gas connection to that because there was none. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking at Matt's engineer background, my partner, I go, man, you missed that class, you must have been on the bar or something. But he said, well, yeah, I guess I missed it. So now the electrical panels that we needed in each lot was 200 amps. The upgrade from 100 to 200, how much you guys think it is each? It's like $1,700. And that was cheap actually, because we got 18 done at once. If you multiply that, it's over 30 grand. And I remember calling my mom that day, hey mom, how are you? When you bring houses, it's very intensive. When you bring houses, that's another thing. So the risks are quite high if you don't know how to budget for things.
And actually, before we jump off the risk and go to another question, we'll talk about insurance, and I'm sure that's something that you have to mitigate. What kind of insurance do you have when you own the park versus owning the home?
Well, my first round of insurance was with the local insurance guy who was like the biggest company in that city. And that was my big mistake. So you can't go to farmers insurance, you can't have your friend or your regular insurance guys specialize in this because, I mean, insurance, if they don't, there's only a handful of brokers, well, more than a handful, but they all pretty much write for the same companies. So we have two types of policies. We have the policy that covers the actual asset, the land, and we have on that policy as well, if there's a Kwanzaa hut or a storage building, anything attached to that property, that will require the insurance also, and that also requires flood insurance. And then there's another company that specializes in mobile homes only. So, but the broker, your broker that you deal with, specialized in the asset class, should be able to handle both. 2 summers ago, we had 70 wind storms, some in the Midwest, in Kansas, and we had maybe 150 grand in damage of wind. Well, it wasn't quite that yet, but we had maybe 4 houses that came off the blocks because they were strapped. And they came off of the blocks, obviously messed up all the piping. And then we had maybe over 25 houses with shingles that were all bad and roofs were damaged. We had one tree branch that collapsed over one mobile home and split it in half. Luckily, nobody got hurt. We had skirting on the homes that just so anyway, the damage was over 100 plus thousand. My deductible was 25 grand, which kind of sucked. But we still got a check, and we were still able to fix everything. And, but that you need insurance. And then we have insurance also for loss of income in case of a natural disaster. And the loss of income is they'll replenish the income while you're fixing the home. So if you lost, let's say, 10 houses, and you bring in one, they'll pay you for 9. If you bring in another, they'll pay you for 8. So it's that type of arrangement.
What kind of general liability limits do you guys put in place typically?
I typically give about $1 million for general liability for like a 100 space and 200 space park, and then $2 million aggregate with a $5 million umbrella. And then we also want to insure our drivers, any managers or anybody that's like driving. We want to have about $1 million insurance for that. And then we want to have E&O insurance for our property management company.
I mean, a lot of it you've got infrastructure, and then you've got liability, and then the other one is just loss of income. And then you've got, the employees, the theft, and the automotive and stuff like that. The 3 big ones are loss of income, infrastructure, and liability. And the more parks you own, you can do a blanket policy, and you can tend to bring down as economy of scale. I mean, I've been surprised. I've been able to bring down my insurance costs 60% from when I bought parks when they were per unit. Well, just aggregate for all the parks.
Right, that's what I'm saying, but on a per unit cost, more that actually gets.
Yeah, it's really rather inexpensive when you look at the cost you have.
But we do the same thing on our single family homes because we do so many. We're able to go and put them all together, no vacancy coverage issues and stuff like that. It's all in one big blanket policy that really reduces cost substantially when you do it that way.
Here's a little.
Well, you've been waiting for a long time.
Now, in terms of economies of scale, is there any park that's too small?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to buy, usually, you don't want to buy something that's 10 spaces, 10, 30 spaces, 40 spaces, that's just, you gotta buy something that it's at least 75 spaces plus.
Then just getting started.
Yeah, because, what happens is you're gonna have that property produce enough income so you can have somebody manage it for you. And then it's very hard to get a manager who's gonna know computers, collections, sales, be pleasant, potentially bilingual, and be a fixer-upper who's going to go under a trailer and change up, a plumbing, fix up a leaky toilet or something. You won't find that person. So you're going to have a person who has some management skills, people skills, and you're going to have a handy guy go around and service the calls. For that, you're going to need about 75 spaces, I think, unless you don't have any debt and you're the cost of capital was zero, then yeah, you could probably afford a smaller community. But yeah, I think that would be, we didn't really start making money until we had maybe 250 plus spaces, friendly, because it was two of us, and you just need, but we also had debt. In your case, if you just want to, let's say, pay for something smaller, you could actually have something that is in 25, 30, 40 spaces. It's a decent little property.
I would personally say don't go below 25. I personally don't have anything below 40, but if you get below 25, then if you have one or two tenants that don't pay rent, there goes your cash flow. You know, so but if you're in the 40 spaces or above, there's a lot more wiggle room. You know, you can have 10% delinquencies and you'd still be fine. You know.
I guess my legal background would say it depends. It's all in the numbers. You know, if you've got 10 spaces on the beach of Malibu, you're golden. You know, if you've got 10 spaces in Alabama and $100 a month rent, you're screwed. You know, so it really comes down to the numbers, what you think your cost of management is, cost of travel, and going to see the park. So it really is, it depends. I mean, if you could find a 10-space park in Carson or Gardena or Torrance that makes perfect sense to you and you get a great deal on it, it can be just fine. If it's in Wyoming, it's probably not going to work for you. So I don't look at the number of spaces specifically. I look at what my NOI is, and then my anticipated cost of having to interfere with that parcel.
Yeah, and
we have a park in Cheyenne, Wyoming right now, and so we're already established and we have the management. Now we're looking at another smaller park, which is like 2 blocks from our subject. That's like 16 space. I would never touch it on by itself, but now it makes sense because my manager has more time, she could actually do it.
It's definitely 16 extra lots at the same park.
That scale helps substantially with your team. Do you guys ever buy single homes and resell those, or rehab them and resell them on debt or anything like that? I know a lot of people that, I've heard of people that do strategies where they basically buy one single home on a park, fix it up, and resell it on debt, just like a single family home type deal. Do you guys ever focus on just buying the parks for people, or buying the actual home for people?
Oh yeah, I got a lot of wonderful people that pay my mortgage and my boat payment and my slip fee, and do just that for me. A lot of my long-term business is owning parks out of state. Most of them are turnaround. I don't get much cash flow out of them. It's all reinvested back into it. But locally, there's a term we call Monty deals. A guy named Monty Scruggs wrote a book called Deals on Wheels. If you're interested in reading it. And the theory is that you're buying older homes, you're buying them cash, you're fixing them up, and you're reselling them and taking a down payment and providing financing. Because there really is very, very little financing for mobile homes today in the market. If you've got a really nice home and you've got a huge down payment and great income, yeah, it's a personal loan.
Are there usury issues with doing the financing on that kind of stuff, where you can't charge over 10% rates and that kind of thing, or do you just kind of get it out of the price?
Well, is it ROI or is it interest rate? My interest rates are basically 2/3 of what a normal lender of mobile homes would do. I'm way below market.
Okay. Interesting.
Question right here. What is the average retail price for one of these manufactured homes? Like, say, for instance, 3 bedroom, 1,000 square feet. And also, can you put one of these? What is the average lifespan for these manufactured homes? And also, would you be able to put one of these like in a residential area? Like, say you don't want to build pay the $150 per foot for a regular,
Put it in someone's backyard.
Unincorporated Riverside, you can put a thing wherever you want to. You're not going to bring one into Hermosa Beach or Torrance or Redondo.
Although manufactured homes is becoming a huge trend, because some manufactured homes now is really sophisticated, and so you can do that, but it's not going to look like a trailer park. It's going to look more like a contemporary house.
I think if you put a manufactured house on a permanent foundation, it'll actually qualify for traditional financing.
And do you know what the approximate price?
Yeah, talk about the normal houses.
I don't know, but you probably know better than me.
I mean, it depends on the manufacturer, what you're doing. I mean, by the time, if you own a lot and you're bringing the home in, you're probably somewhere from $80,000 to $200,000.
No, but the typical homes at your parks, how much are those homes worth?
Oh, in the park that I run?
Yeah.
$5,000 to $10,000.
That's a used home.
That's a used home. That's a 70s used home.
What is the lifespan of these?
You know what? I've got a lot of 70s
homes that have been kept, taken care of. It's like, what's the value of a used car? I look at a car lot. I've seen 67 Mustangs in fantastic condition. I've seen some that's 10 years old and some will be retired. So if you take care of it, it'll last a long time.
I heard the average lifespan is like 50 years, more or less. I mean, I'm not going to
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Golden's houses, we took a lot of those out because you want to, there's some really nice looking homes now. So you take the jumpers out, probably the 72, 73s, we took them out. Put them on.
So sometimes it makes sense to actually.
Those are beautiful homes, but yeah. Yeah, I got a couple of them.
Question.
So if you were to find out what's for sale, and there's nothing online, who you talk to, who you ask for your cold call?
If you do a cold call, I do that a lot, man. I like to cold call. So I usually call usually get the manager to answer the phone. And so you start having questions about the community, like what's the occupancy. I usually call it as if I was going to move.
You talk to Southern accent?
I do like hello.
You just
do the other two.
Where's the talk about Mexican accent?
Yeah, I do the Mexican. I do the French one.
I personally go straight for the owners. I don't want to speak to the managers because I find that the managers feel like, whoa, if this is going to get sold, I'm going to lose my job. So there's no way I'm passing on a message. You've probably got a totally different strategy, but I like to go straight to the owners. Skip tracing. So basically getting lists of the actual mobile home parks and then skip tracing to find out who the owners are. And that's basically the process that we use.
Yeah,
Sorry?
If you go out of state to Idaho to meet.
It's all over the phone. I typically don't even go to a park until it's under contract, unless it's very close here.
I mean, you don't call the phone and you get the owner to answer the phone, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Like, so my reality, my world is, I don't do that. Because I'm not that lucky. I'm not that good looking either. But, you got to go through a few, and then, you'll be on it until you get the number.
Yeah, the skip tracing way takes a lot of work to get that for sure. And you got to do skip tracing every single person you find. I mean, we try to do that with multifamilies, and it's hard. You're calling a lot of people trying to, because when you skip trace and you do the background checks on them and stuff like that, they come up with a ton of different phone numbers and email addresses, and you're like, great, this guy had 80 phone numbers in the last 10 years. Let me go call every single one of them and see if I can find this person. But sometimes they're hidden. They have LLCs in place, and I've even gone through to find owners and looked at the actual signature lines on the warranty deeds, and then tried to find that person on social media and different places like that just to find them. But there's a lot of at county records you can find a lot of information. I don't know if you can at mobile homes, can you?
Yeah, county records is actually pretty good. Mobile parks, sorry. But it can be a rabbit hole for sure. Sometimes you can get lucky, and sometimes it's just like this is crazy.
So another strategy, when I'm actually visiting and working with my properties, then I'll actually go out, take some time to go walk into their office and shake their hands. And, I own this, I own that, what do you own, tell me, get to know each other. Oftentimes, my intent there as an owner talking face to face is, hey, if I ever get a call from your company or a tenant trying to move their home to my park, I don't want to do that. I just want you to know that I'm not poaching. And I wanted to let you know that I want to give you a call first so you get a chance to talk to your tenant. So I don't want to be taking you home from your park. So we kind of established that friendship relationship. And that's how I bought 2 parks from local owners in my community, in my market.
I would say that a lot of deals are hiding in plain sight. There are a couple of very qualified mobile home brokers out there. Most of them have no idea what they're doing. They're a cousin related to somebody that listed a mobile home park. They don't have a clue what it's worth. They don't understand the P&L they've been given. So the number one thing I'd say if you're interested in this asset class is educate yourself. There's so many more moving parts than a normal park. And there's a whole lot less education out there and information on it. And I've come across deals where I look at this and I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. It's a 2 count.
and you realize that they've got 3 maintenance people making $60,000 a year on a 60-space park, managers making $100,000 a year. And if you sit and apply the butts and seats times the space rent and give it an expense factor, and you're like, this is a 10 cap. But the number you look at it, the way it's advertised, it looks like crap. You know, I mean, one of my mentors has always said, you know, opportunities are found, deals are created. Look at an opportunity, dig in, take a look at it, make an offer, see if you can create a deal out of it, create seller financing. If I can get really good seller financing, I'll whale it. Because the seller financing is very, very important to me. Because I can go back and get more bites at that apple over the period of that 15-year financing. It's far more valuable than just the face value.
And I'd have to agree. I mean, when you're talking to the initial realtors on this, most realtors don't know the numbers for anything when it comes to real estate investing. So, but no, if you, just kidding, crap. So no, in reality, if you are a realtor, focus on the numbers. Focus on that piece, because if you know the numbers, your value just went through the roof. And you know, I really want to focus on the due diligence aspects and a little bit more on the upfront and afterwards. But more importantly, when you guys are searching for a specific park to buy, what are the main positive attributes that you guys are trying to look for? What are the value add approaches that you're looking at that you could come in and do something with a park and make it more valuable?
Well, I'm basically looking for something that's under market rents. If it's the market rents at $300 a month, and the mom and pop doesn't want to raise the rents, and they haven't raised the rents for the last 10 years, and now they're at like $250, you can basically move in and raise the rents $50 a month. So that's something that's definitely awesome. And I think one of the other better things, you guys might agree, is to fill a lot of spaces. It can be expensive depending on how you do it, but it adds a lot of value to the actual park. So I like to buy a park that's 80% occupied, and then fill those 20% with homes and get tenants in there and bring it up to 100% occupancy.
What about you guys? What do you guys look for?
One of the things I look for is utilities not being passed through or misread. I mean, you can look at someone's P&L and they've got $50,000 worth of electrical and they collect $12,000. Right there, you can shift that from one part of the income statement to the other. So passing through billing utilities, improper management, which kind of leads to what you're talking about. I mean, rents are all over the place. They're not properly monitoring things. Just stuff that needs to be cleaned up. I'm not looking for the 5-star park that's got 9% occupancy that's at 4 count.
Okay. Me, okay, so you guys want to do a lot of work? How much time do you have? That's a huge factor. If you're going to do a turnaround, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. It's going to cost you a lot of time and a lot of money. So to fill it, now that's going to give you the better return. But frankly speaking, for me, that's been the biggest thing. But on the other ones have been really buy them and make money from there on. That was great. So I guess if you get lazy, that's probably the better way to do it. But if you want to really have a big payday down the road, you gotta buy something that is maybe 150% occupied with a lot of quirky things on the P&Ls, and like utilities and things like that, like what everybody discussed here. That's how you get the bigger value. But you get a nice property too on the other side, you might as well just buy that and get a little more. You can be tweaking it a little bit at a time every 6 months or whatever.
And if you're 50% occupied, then it's a lot harder to finance, and it's a lot harder to actually get into it too.
Yeah, a little bit about finance, and then I'll take your question. If you buy a park that is 70% or less occupied, you won't find a loan. It's better to get a loan for $3 million plus. Under any properties under $1 million, under 500,000, $1 million, $1.5 million, those are hard loans to do. A lot of people in the space.
A lot less commercial lenders in that space specifically, right?
Yeah.
So it makes it hard. Like that's the only thing in Wyoming. I bought it directly from the seller. The seller had appreciated the property to the bone. So basically, it was a seller finance, 30% down. Didn't go to the bank. It was incredible. And so now, and then my 30% down went to an exchange account. And then he exchanged that into another property in Colorado. So he was going to get hammered on capital gain, so he had to sell the finance again. And for me, that property didn't qualify for the bank, but I took it. It's doing great right now. So.
Are there any kind of construction loans you see out there for these types of parks where you're going to add a bunch of parks or anything like that? I think one of the biggest things that I see, we'll go to the question first.
Sticking with the value add thing, we actually do a lot of debt financing on MFCs and multis. What are your thoughts on community amenities and how much of a premium do they command for your rents and your bottom line? And is it worth going in and either adding amenities or looking for parks with shared amenities? And then maybe a second question is, are there any sort of like low cost tricks or value adds that you do when you buy a park? I had a client that would just go in and give brand new mailboxes, but they were all matching, right? And so it sort of just brought the community a little bit of a likeness and a feel to it. Is there anything like that you would recommend when you're looking at parks?
I don't want amenities at all. I don't want a swimming pool. I don't want anything. If it's there, I want to fill it in. I personally don't think for the parks that we invest in that it adds any value to their life at all. It's actually a liability, and I would prefer not to have that. And as far as like things to actually add to the community to make it a little bit better, I think internal signage like street signs, solar lighting, that can be a pretty cheap and effective way, and also entrance signs.
Although I will say that we've got some other operators that we invest with that have the complete opposite point of view and love putting that stuff in, love doing barbecues and things for the residents on Friday. They are trying to build a community. So there is a plus side to it, but you bring on more risk. You have to make sure that plus side that you get warrants the extra risk.
So we kind of talk about the two types of communities. There's affordable housing and there's lifestyle communities. Lifestyle communities have pools and shuffleboard, barbecues, tennis courts, and all that kind of stuff. Statistically, a lot of like swimming pools, 5% of the communities. They're a liability. A lot of park owners like us, if there's one, we fill it in and put a basketball court.
Is the insurance more expensive?
It's very expensive. And pools, drowning, the fencing, bacteria. It's crazy what you do with pools these days.
We've
clubhouses, we board them up.
Right. We've added a playground for the kids.
Yeah.
We've added like a sandbox for volleyball. We have that. And we bought some school was closing here at Riverside. We bought a nice commercial grade playground set and we shipped it over there. And we haven't put it together yet, but the equipment's there.
Rusting.
And it's good. But you make those improvements are good. I think street signs is good, lighting is good. When we started adding a lot of homes, the Midwest Energy, the Edison electricity company, they came out and they started upgrading our transformers. And as a result, we started to get the 40-foot light poles. And that was a huge upgrade to the property. It looked way nicer instead of the old ones that are kind of tilted. So we get the nicer ones, it's clean. So things like that started to do better. I would actually invest in the roads. Roads is a big capex. Instead, and then you could, once you're full, then you could. That's what we did a big jump on our loss.
I think that's something, talking about the value add piece, is something a lot of investors make a giant mistake on. I see it all the time on the multifamily sides where, they don't allocate enough money for the capital expenditures. They think that things are going to cost less than they do, and you really need to buffer those things and get a really good understanding of what things cost. Because, like when I see, prospective multifamilies, for example, I know in my other units that are 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, to redo the whole thing, it's going to cost $6,500 to $7,500 each one for every unit. But a lot of people are saying, oh no, it only needs $3,000 and that's it. But $3,000 in a unit is paying carpet if you're lucky. And so a lot and allocating money for the grounds and the solar lighting and all these and the playgrounds and the extra grass or whatever you want to put into this thing to spruce it up and the signage. A lot of people really underestimate that cost, and I think it's extremely important to make sure, especially if you're new, that you buffer the crap out of that. And even if you're looking at a lower rate for yourself, put that extra buffer room in place and raise additional capital so you don't get stuck all of a sudden not being able to improve a park the way you really wanted to.
I'll say one of the biggest ones that struck me is tree removal and tree trimming. Jesus. I had no idea what my parks are in Tucson. There's not a whole lot of growth. And just trim these things, get rid of it. It's phenomenally expensive.
I was looking at a multifamily like that had pine pine trees. All of the owner just happened to like pine trees. He owned 6,500 units across the U.S. and had a 100-unit property that had 52 pine trees that were overhanging the roofs that needed to be taken out with cranes. And it was going to literally cost $150,000 to $175,000 just to remove the trees. And I'm like, well, that just killed the entire deal, you know? So, I mean, trees, and especially from your insurance perspective and things like that, your insurance company will make you move those trees. They'll make you cut everything back, especially if they're overhanging.
Now the roads, I have a lot of inverted speed bumps. Potholes. I'm going to fix these mics, slows you guys down. Fix them.
What about value add from pricing? I know you mentioned that you charge a termination fee. Or what other types of revenue opportunities are there? Billboards, cell phone towers, or what other types of things you guys do?
We have transfer fees, like moving around. We have non-compliance fees. We probably bill about $800 to $1,200 a month just on. So basically, if you have dirt, if you have debris, we come out. One of our managers comes around, leaves a little note saying, "Hey, you're gonna have Hallmark card. You have 48 hours. Otherwise, we'll pick it up and we'll bill you." So we always bill. So the 48 hours. If it's not picked up, then we warn. You go ahead and give them a check off, and then the statement the next month we'll send them a bill. We do that. We've done storage, so we actually will bill for $600-700 if you have a lot of trash outside. If you have like toys and bikes, furniture, barbecues. Hey, we'll build it for you for $700, and then we'll charge you $50 a month, $35 a month for the use of the storage, and it's right outside your house. Does that work? I mean, that's basically, we do that a lot. So if you do the math, that's pretty good return on your $700. Normally we'll sell those like a 10 by 10 or an 8 by 8. We do that all the time. We've done obviously rent increases. That's the biggest one. And the utility pass-through is big. We always do that. But we don't make money in utilities. But we make utilities on the admin fees. We charge administration fees for reading the water meters. Well, now we don't even read the water meters now. We got some killer water meters. It's all electrical. I mean, it's all radio frequency. It's all red, and it's pretty awesome. So, but yeah, there's a lot of streams.
Late fees are awesome because there's a lot of people in mobile home parks don't pay on time, and it's like $50 late fee. Awesome.
What do you guys charge late fees?
$50 if they haven't paid by the 5th. It's $50 flat. We did it's $30 on the 6th day and then $1 each day after that, and it just became an accounting nightmare. And it didn't really give people incentive anyway, so it's like $50 straight out of the gate. That's it. Laundromats. What else we got? Non-sufficient funds fees, extra person fees, pet fees.
What about the land? I mean, you own a bunch of land. Is there any other ways of using the land?
Storage.
Self-storage, or?
I've found that basically my late fees over time equal out to what I lose. My cost of evictions and people cutting out and watching utilities and stuff. It looks like a profit center, but at the end of the day, it seems to kind of even out. I don't build storage sheds and stuff. I just, laundry, I get a couple $100 a month. I'm venturing to guess that my electrical and water bill are more than I get paid from the people who run the washer and dryer. I just need it because a lot of homes don't have washer and dryer in them. I probably lose money on that, but it's an amenity you have to have. I just primarily focus on renting dirt utility hookups.
Most homes don't have a hookup for their machines, so they can't afford the machines, washer and dryer.
A little bit of both. Some of it's both. I mean, if someone's got $1,200 to move in, they may not be able to afford washer and dryer. Or it's an older home that doesn't have it. There's an electrical hookup. It's just a convenience that you have to have in the park.
Right. Here, then here.
How can I raise your fees?
As often as possible.
Rents or fees?
Once a year.
Space.
Every 12 months for sure.
And how much?
And how much? It's like 10 to 15%. But if we're buying an undervalued park that's way under rents, then I'll crank it up straight out of the gate. Probably like even $50 if it's that undervalued.
Such as rent control.
I don't buy in rent control areas personally.
There is such thing as rent control.
There is.
I would try to avoid it if I were you.
It's the same rules like in LA County apply if the park's in that county that has rent
Yeah, I'll
control.
give you an example of Carson, which you probably know, where they have incredibly strict rent control. I mean, there are parks in Carson where the rent's $269 a month, which is cheaper than Oklahoma City. It's cheaper than Barstow. I mean, you go out in the middle of the desert, it's more than $269. The rent control is so strict. I know this couple, they've owned this park for 35, 40 years. What you have to go through to raise rent is more than they're willing to go through.
Right.
$269 a month.
There's your question.
I've got two questions. Number one, depreciation. What is there to depreciate? You buy an apartment building, you depreciate the building, there's a lot of tax write-up that benefits you. That's one. Number two, I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to buy a mobile park, 1,500 square feet in Stillmore for a fraction of what the neighborhood was. It never materialized. I was planning to rent it. Would that be a smart investment?
You're talking about buying one single unit.
One single unit.
That's what you do, right?
Yeah. As a general rule, the IRS will allow you to take 75% of the cost of the value of the home you bought or the park you bought, consider infrastructure and depreciate it for 15 years. That make sense?
That's in that market that you're in.
Pretty much universal. If you pay $1 million for property, $750,000 is attributable to infrastructure that you put in, depreciated for 15 years. That's the general accepted rule of the IRS.
Do you get the...
Does that make sense?
Yes, but do you get the bill from tax assessor's office that your land is this much?
You're talking about taxes, not depreciation.
Yeah, because we cannot do the same 75% here for apartment building that we build.
No, but it's different because what you're talking about is not a building, you're talking about infrastructure. You're talking about roads, plumbing, sewer lines, water lines, electrical lines.
We do a cost segregation, so we'll actually figure out how much water lines and sewer lines we have, how about the square footage of roads, and basically, have our CPA calculated. So
don't look at Matt.
We usually get around about 15 to 17 and a half years on average for depreciation across the whole asset.
The calculation that Tim has about 75%? Is that about
it's
right?
Pretty close.
I'm sure there's extremes if you're in Malibu or I mean, Mississippi Delta, but as a general rule, what they'll accept is 75% of the purchase price is infrastructure, depreciable over 15 years.
Right.
Whenever you put the money into the detail of how much each little piece of infrastructure is costs associated with it, most of the time you can bump that depreciation up associated with it. Because normally when you're dealing with like a multifamily building, you're going to go, and a general rule of thumb for depreciation just across the board is you got to allocate it between land and building, and the land is worth typically what the average land cost is in that area, and the way you pull comps for that is, the property tax assessment site, or at least for the IRS purposes, or you can go through and see what other land is selling for per square foot in that area or something along those lines. But when you're dealing with buying land, you're basically, in this case, you're buying the land along with the infrastructure that's in place that's already been developed on the land, and so that's where he's coming up with the 75% figure associated with that. But in reality, if you were able to break it down into detail, you can take, a lot of that infrastructure, and most roads and concrete and things like that and fencing and that kind of thing has like a 15-year useful life according to the IRS, so you can break those things apart and depreciate them at a faster scale than maybe some of the other infrastructure that might be. Is it 27 and a half years on that piece? I'm not sure.
Building on there, if you have a 10-plex.
Well, yeah, then you're good.
But just
the land building allocation.
Actually, 39 years for commercial.
39.
Yeah.
35%, 15 years.
On that deal that I bought in Cheyenne, the seller finance deal, it's kind of a hybrid property. It has RVs, mobile homes, kind of like a commercial building, and it has 4 single-family houses and 2 duplexes. It's like this weird property. It's really cool. It has storage.
Gun shop.
So the guy had, what he did, he was a banker, really smart guy. He had done a cost segregation analysis of the property, which cost them a lot of money before, you could actually implement it. And then he started to appreciate goodwill, equipment, the water lines, the water tank, the water well, the customer lists, like the prospect, the tenant lists, that's appreciable. Once you have to go through the cost segregation process in order to reclassify the property, so you could actually appreciate all these things that he had done. So in my agreement, when we bought it, we had to actually take over the same schedule of depreciation. So we signed like when I file my returns, forget the name of the form, it's an IRS form, so 45 something, that I have to file it, so it has to be, so I can carry over what he's been doing over this time.
I got a question for you guys on fees, pet fees. These people sound more like cash check people, not credit card ACH people. Talk about the challenges of collecting collecting rent every month and making sure that it's going to you and not to your manager or some other party.
Keep it simple. Definitely no cash. Checks, money orders. Some people pay with credit cards. We'll accept it. Like if somebody's late and they're like 2 months late and they come into the manager's office and they want to pay up to date and they got a credit card, we'll accept that. That's fine. But we want to just keep it as simple as possible. I've pondered the thought of having, direct deposit and things like that, but I haven't had the courage to take that step. A lot of our tenants don't even use email. They're old school. Some people don't even have a bank account. It's interesting. So, yeah.
So if they don't have a bank account, how do they pay you?
Well, they're basically going down to Walmart and they're getting money order, and they give us a money order. So money orders or checks.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want cash for two reasons. A, it can disappear. B, you don't want the word out that your manager's got $8,000 in cash and she's collecting. It's dangerous for her. B, if that disappears, how you going to pay her mortgage? So it's just, all the time run across the last mortgage I bought, it's just all cash. Half of it never made to the bank, shockingly.
We actually require people to pay online. We own a traditional management company with single-family homes, so more people have bank accounts. But we require people to pay online through our online system. And if they don't, there's typically another fee associated with it if they're doing cashier's checks and stuff like that, because then we have to go to the bank.
Wouldn't get many rents.
Well, I understand definitely in that case, but with technology now, they can even go to different ATM machines and things like that and deposit money right there. There's a million ways of doing it electronically. Instead of having to go and cash a check at a Walmart or something, there's new technology out. But it is hard if you're dealing with old school guys or girls in these places.
They go down to the Dollar General down the corner
right.
for 7-Eleven and they pay their 95 cents and they come back with their money.
Right.
What accounting software do you guys use?
Sorry?
What accounting software? You collect the checks and stuff. You keep track of it. What do you use?
Well, I started off with QuickBooks, but now I'm using Rent Manager. So.
I use QuickBooks for accounting. As far as a rent manager, we inherited a system called Sirisoft, which is not widely known. It's mostly used for self-storage. My manager just happened to know how to use it, and so we used it, and it works just fine for what we got.
I think it's important, I think, to use QuickBooks and have proper bookkeeping, but when you're dealing with property management, any type of property management, you need a specific type of software because it incorporates the marketing, the delinquencies, you have notes and all kinds of stuff that you can document about the tenants. It incorporates a ton of different stuff right inside that, including separating owners and that kind of thing and properties.
Not if you're just running parking space and utilities.
Right. Well, you can, yeah.
And when we have it, it'll pull a park and it's got, they'll create a map of every space in the park and its color. Are they current? Have they paid in full or are they still owned? You can pull it up and see yellow, orange, or green. What's going on? A whole view of it. And we put the utilities into it. And so we can pull up a run of, the rent, what's due, everybody that owes on it, like a rent roll, if you will, all the utilities onto it. We have a separate company that reads our utilities for us, big utility billing. And when I took over a couple of large parks in Tucson, I was just billing as the original people did the electrical. Found out that I was losing about 20% a month because you're allowed to bill all these other, you get the bill, but there's all these other junk fees that they throw in there. And all of a sudden we went to a billing company for $1.50 a pad per month, And, you know, the NOI jumps $6,000.
So they do this on multifamilies too?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get that name later on.
Spectrum. Spectrum.
I run on Rent Managers. This software is particular to mobile home parks. It has a lot of tweaks to the asset class, like utility billing and a few other things. But then our checks go into this box and walk into the office. Our manager scans them and it goes directly into our account. And then each customer or each tenant has, like from the moment you take the application in, the credit report, the criminal history and everything else, it's all built into one profile. It's pretty awesome. And so you can track everything from there on history of payments.
Bill, talk a little bit about management challenges, right? So you guys, you employ the managers, the management parts, right? So it sounds like there's no opportunity to outsource that, right? So you guys directly employ people. Can you talk about the challenges of finding the right people to be management parts? Do you inherit the manager to buy it? Do you keep them or do you replace them?
It's guilty by association. If the park is poorly managed, well, you're probably not going to keep the manager that's there. But if it's actually being managed pretty well, and there's other opportunities there, then it's worth looking into to keep a manager. We typically like to have managers that live in the community. If they live there, they're more closer to the environment, and they actually care more about, and they can also see what's happening all the time. But, you know, managers, they live at the mobile home park, so there's a lot of challenges that come along with that too. That, you know, without being like me, sometimes they're not the brightest people. I've had some challenges with managers where you give like a really clear, concise instruction, like go take a video of the house at space number 123, and then they come back with a picture of a cat. And it's like, what's this picture of a cat? Oh, isn't this what you want? No, I actually wanted a picture down at number 123, you know, so, and that stuff happens all the time. It's like, I gave such good, clear instructions, and like, I don't even know what you're coming back to me with, like.
But you have an impressive collection of cat photos, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Tell me about you guys.
I took a unique approach to it. I've got a little bit of economy of scale in the Tucson area of my parks, and I've found a very good manager. She has a history in property management, law enforcement. She's not scared to carry, open carry, when she goes around the parks. She's at Arizona. That's Arizona. And she started getting recruited by a number of the large operators around there. There are a lot more resources than I did, and I didn't want to lose her. So what I did is I formed my own management company. Made her a 50% owner of it. She's never been a 50% owner of anything. And basically, we manage our properties, we've taken on other properties we manage, and I give her the majority share of the income that comes in. So the harder she works, the better she does, the more she makes. It's not a profit center for me. It was a way to tie her to me so that she didn't want to leave because she was given something she'd never had before. And the harder she worked, the more she made. It was directly related, her income directly related to how much work she did and how well we did. So we just formed an LLC partnership, and she gets a salary and the majority of the dividend distribution.
Deal opportunity versus deal creation, right?
What?
Deal opportunity versus deal creation.
Exactly. It's just, you know, I saw an opportunity and created a deal out of it.
Right.
Secure everybody.
And she's got a gun, so you're not firing her anyway.
Yes.
I'm sure that property, she's 50% of the entity that entity owns, not much, right?
At the end of the
it's okay. It's a joke. Last question on.
Yeah. So I started with one manager was a disaster. The second manager was even worse. My third manager was a couple. They were with me for 8 years, and then we moved them to Cheyenne, and then they got really lazy, and then they left. And then we got a new manager for Cheyenne, but we got I think in my market, being bilingual manager was really, really helpful. And then my living in the park, and then my maintenance guy also living in the park. And my maintenance guy has been with me since 2009.
Okay, so we're running after 9 o'clock here, so we're going to go ahead and cut it off. First of all, great questions tonight. It's funny, I just read through the list, and I think everything that we were going to talk about, there was a question that was asked at some point in time. So thank you guys for participating. But hey, thank you guys for answering questions. Let's get a big round of applause for you.